Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Soccer for Us. We are less than a week away from the USMNT's full World Cup 2026 roster coming out. It is almost here. The World Cup is rapidly approaching. And we now are at the point where people had to put their money where their mouth is, if you will, and say, this is who I think should be in the World Cup roster for the U.S. men. So we're going to do that tonight. We're going to go through the list of all the players that Mauricio Pochettino has called in during his time in charge of this team. And we're going to say who we think are making the roster and who we think are definitely not. And when I say we, I mean the greatest historian on U.S. soccer Twitter. It is Thomas, a.k.a. U.S. Keeper. Thomas, I mean, the World Cup is coming up quickly. Who are you ready to kick out of this player pool and never have to see again?
Oh, that. Jeez, there's a couple.
That's a loaded
in there.
Question.
It is a loaded question. I was not anticipating that. I mean, I look. I love all these players. I think there's been a time when they've excelled. There's been a time, when they've showed what they can do, and there's going to be time for more of them as we go forward. I want to thank Tim Ream because if he's playing in the next World Cup, that we have bigger problems with the federation. I always went back and forth with him. He's a player we'll obviously discuss, but he's 38. I think he offers a lot of leadership and experience, but he's clearly just not what he was 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, he was damn good. Let's not take anything away from him. And he stepped up in a big way 4 years ago. So.
Well, you are right. I think we should be saying goodbye to Tim Ream after this summer. But I will not rule out Tim Ream being a part of the USMNT next World Cup. Who knows? Maybe he'll be on the coaching staff or something. There are worse people I could see involved with this program. I'm not going to fully say he's done. In all seriousness, though, we are getting close to finding out what that list of 26 guys will be. And Mauricio Pochettino and his staff we're recording on Monday, May 18, outside of figuring out if, some of the injuries over the weekend are serious or not. I have to think that they have their roster selected already. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I would say so. Obviously there's different moving parts to this sort of thing. I guess to me, what I wonder is what communication has taken place with the players. Like, what's the timing of that communication, right? Is that, are we looking at, because the call is on Tuesday. Most of the leagues finish up this weekend.
That's the big thing for me that Tyler Adams is playing for a Champions League spot. There are guys that have legitimate things to play for this weekend. I don't know. How does that work? And what does that timing look like?
Yeah, I suspect, based on the timing of it, they're going to have some of the big names on, in New York, like Pulisic and McKinney, and the so-called locks for sure will be there, and the faces of the national team will be there. I think that's critical. People want to see that. It's kind of a little bit of a dog and pony show by the looks of it. U.S. Soccer is kind of doing their thing with it, which is fine. I don't think it needs to be 4 hours long or whatever it is. And but U.S. Soccer will do U.S. Soccer things if they want. And again, we do. But here's to that point, we do ask for those sorts of things. Maybe just not in this form. I would like to maybe see them in, before matches, leading up to games, where we have the opportunity for fans to maybe get more of a glimpse of players. But I think we'll just we'll enjoy the hour we get to watch it on Fox, I'm sure, and I'm sure they'll drag it out long. I'm sure there'll be leaks along the way, and we'll be following it for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Just a quick note, most of these leagues do finish up on Sunday. So I am curious who they end up dragging out there for. Like you said, I would expect Pulisic to be a part of it in some way, shape, or form, McKinney as well. But if they finish their Italian league season on Sunday, are they flying and being in New York City for this on Monday. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure they'll
Well,
be a
I
part
mean,
of it, like I said.
there are some international friendlies that I think are playing out this week in
Yeah.
some, and definitely next week. So, which is a little bit before the window technically opens up.
Yeah.
But I think that's I'm sure they'll try to congregate as soon as they can. I know I would if I'm chosen. I
Yeah.
want to.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to get on a plane as soon as, they'll probably know Saturday night before the game on Sunday, I would imagine, because like you said, we have games next Sunday. We have a game.
Yeah, I have to.
I'm
figure
assuming
this,
they're getting on as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I have to figure that they would know this week. I mean, like if you're going to be in the World Cup and the announcement's on Tuesday and your season's ending, like you need to know what's going on so you can kind of prepare and plan and get flights and all that stuff through US Soccer or whatever. But according to Pochettino, he's only going to call the players that are making the team. He's not going to speak to anyone else. And I don't know how I feel about that. US Soccer loves to keep this provisional roster on the wraps. It's not. I'm deep in research, and I have never found anything where they've released the provisional roster.
No.
I can't say that. The U.S. Soccer has never released it, from what I've been told.
Right.
It has been released along the way. Like obviously, 2014, we knew the provisional roster. Someone leaked it, and we knew the players because they're all in camp. And then I don't know, 3 or 4 days after being in camp, the cuts were made, and then the final roster was there. So,
I mean, I'll also say this, because we have the training camp before the World Cup. I would assume there's going to be a couple of names added to the list who are just training camp players, and I would say that they're probably going to have to be on that provisional roster, because they're going to probably be guys that you would say, okay, well, you're here also because you're probably the first call if someone gets hurt during these friendlies.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, because in the past they really haven't, supposedly, and I can't find a lot on it either, haven't really had extra players. Right? The roster's been the roster. So you go back to 2002 when Chris Armas got injured, right? And that was in a friendly leading up to the World Cup. I mean, which is devastating. You're talking about a guy who should have been a starter at the World Cup.
Multiple World Cups missed out on that. Yeah.
And how that guy just had some really crappy timing and bad luck. But imagine what that looks like for the team in there, in general. But I have to go back and look. I don't know who replaced him on the roster. Yeah. Like within that, because I think there might have been a couple injuries that had happened.
I'm trying to think if Mastroeni was the replacement or if he was already.
No, I think he was on. I think he was.
He was.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look, but but there was in 2006 too. They had like 3 or 4 players that were initially announced on the roster, then got replaced, like Greg Vanny. I think Berhalter might have replaced someone in 2006, but I'm not positive of that. I know Freddie Hedu was. He was injured, but he had been selected to the original roster. So there's 3 or 4 players there. But I mean, and again, if the pattern continues, right, with roster releases and actually players being, having to be replaced, I mean, we have a little bit more runway, but it's going to be interesting because there are some players coming into this World Cup that are dealing with muscle issues. Taryn Tessman, that I need to keep our eye on. Chris Richards over the weekend sustained some sort of ankle injury, so it's sounding like it's something he can work through, but I guess we'll have to find out.
Yes, that'll be an underlying thing to, I think, all of these roster announcements, is just what happens if someone gets injured. But we're not going to think about that. We're going to just kind of take a look at this. So like I said at the top, we're going to go through, basically we've gone through every player that Mauricio Pochettino has called up during his time. Only the ones he's called up, because I don't know about you, Thomas, I don't see Poch calling in some rando that he's never laid eyes on before.
Yeah, I mean, I think the list that I think we're, just so everyone knows, we're going by is based on players he called into his 9 camps, right? And there's 71 players on that list that were called into U.S. men's national team camps. We know obviously one was a January friendly. January camp, in 2025, and obviously had a Gold Cup mixed in there as well. So that's kind of what that is built off.
Yeah. So Thomas, again, being the greatest historian on U.S. Soccer Twitter, has this running list and has them also sorted by camp appearances, which does kind of help, for me anyway, when I was looking at this, kind of choose between those guys who are probably going to be there, and the ones who are long shots, because as I just hinted, Mauricio Pochettino, like all coaches, but Mauricio especially, seems to appreciate that familiarity and like touching and feeling the player. His words, not mine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's gonna. I mean, yeah, we'll get into it, but to me, there's only potentially one surprise that I'm hoping we'll see, and when we get to that point, we can discuss that. So,
All right. Okay, so we're gonna go through this by position group, and we'll say who do we think are locks, should be there, long shots, and then the guys who just don't have a chance. So, how about we start with the goalkeepers, since that is the smallest group. He called up 10 total goalkeepers during his time here, which again, his camp he started in October 2024, and we're now we got through March 2026, and he will be probably done calling up players after this World Cup. The goalkeepers, the one that he called in the most, I'm listing these in order of most appearances. Patrick Schulte, interestingly enough, 7 appearances. Matt Freese, Matt Turner, both with 6. Zach Steffen with 4. Chris Brady with 3. Roman Celentano with 2. Jonathan Klinsmann with 2. Drake Callender, Ethan Horvath, and Diego Koken with 1. So, Thomas, I don't know about you. I only have 1 lock, but I think there's probably 2 if you were to ask me personally.
yeah, I think we probably the same ones. I actually ranked the pool itself, so I kind of like there's a A's for locks, B's for whatever on there.
Yeah.
I had Turner and Freeze kind of right on that sandwich, right? Because it could go either way on that. I think they're, but I will say this about Turner, like, or Freeze maybe. It could be either one. I mean, if one of them is not included, I'd be shocked. It would be a major snub for me. But I can't put anything past Pochettino, right? Like I can't put anything by him that he might, for some reason, say, yeah, I'm going to bring some other rando, right? And maybe he will, but if you're smart, Turner and Freeze are law keepers. You have 2 reliables, and then anywhere you go after that, I don't really care, honestly.
So that's kind of how I looked at it as well. Like I was like, look, Freeze is for me the lock that I put down there. Turner is probably will be there just because he seems to be less preferred by Pochettino. But if you were to ask me, they're both locks. And then everyone else is kind of like I'm calling them long shots just because name one and I don't care. Is that wrong to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a different thoughts on this, and we've seen in the past kind of how UF Soccer has done that. They typically have brought more of an experienced keeper for the third keeper, not a young guy. And I think you could go either way with that. I mean, look, Diego Kochen would be great. Guys, he hasn't played. Yeah. Like I don't. You can make any excuse you want. I just don't think he's the keeper for the next cycle either, right? So if you're thinking of that, to me, I think that's a little off base on that. So, I think the player that falls into the likelihood of like the next younger keeper right now is Chris Brady. The guy has been freaking consistent in MLS and for many years, and to me, I think he's earned that opportunity. If you're going to want to bring a young keeper, if you want to bring experience, and then I think you have to look at a different option there. But to me, I think, to me, I think Brady, is the young option if you want to bring it in. If you want additional experience, then I think Schulte or Salentano are your other options.
So my long shots were Schulte. Again, most called in keeper. Brady for everything you just said. Roman Celentano, again, I think he's just been a guy who has been around. He only has 2 call-ups, though. And then I did put Koken on there just because young guy might get a shot. I personally would not. The question here is, as you mentioned, and this is true, they've gone for more of the experienced guy. Horvath and Steffen they were called in.
Steffen 4
I don't
times.
Really. Yeah, Steffen called in a good bit at the beginning, right?
And he might have, and I had to go back and look specifically. He might have been called in and been injured a couple times too. I'm pretty sure of that. Like, because this only counts if they were in camp, right? If they made it into camp, they get called in. and if they got released or whatever, or didn't play, obviously that doesn't include us. But he got called in at least into 4 camps and didn't
Yeah.
play. Oh, he might have played. He might have played. I don't know, and at some point, um, but yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, Stefan. I mean, you look at this. If you want to look at like veteran, Stefan is probably more of a veteran than any of those other keepers
Anyone
before Matt Freese and Matt Turner, right? You know, in terms of like.
I mean, I would make the argument he's more veteran than Freese, but you know, I'm gonna say he's also hurt-ish right now. I don't know what his status officially is with Colorado. He played 2 weeks ago, I think, and hasn't played since with the knee injury. So that probably rules him out. But like, I don't see Stefan going. I don't see Horvath going. He hasn't really been a part of Pochettino's plans. I really look. Klinsmann and Calendar also, they're not there. And if I were to put one of the guys I mentioned, I would probably say Koken is no chance. But I personally am leaving that door open for him. But I doubt he'll get that call.
I didn't. If you're looking at my 5, he's not any. He's only my 6 because I don't want to hear from the fanboys being like, why don't you have him on there?
100%.
I just don't want to hear
100%.
it. Like, oh, here you go. Throwing you a bone. He's in there, but he's, I'd love to see the provisional roster because I think you have to take 5 keepers on the provisional anyway.
I think so, yeah.
So, to me, he doesn't make the 5.
Yeah.
And would you take a spot to put him in there? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the question. Is like, I'd be willing to sacrifice Celentano for Koken, but at the same time, Schulte, Brady, and Celentano start matches every week for a professional soccer team, which is more than I can say for Diego Koken.
Yeah, and I don't care about the history of it. If you're going to be in the tournament and you're competing, especially in one where you have third place teams making it, you better damn well make sure you have the proper depth in place because to me, you can't risk it on Koken. You just can't. Yeah. You can't say, "Oh, geez, I guess we need him now." And to me, like any of those other keepers, I'm okay with. Like, because we have no great keepers.
I do think legitimately though, when you look at the 3 that we're kind of mostly eyeing, for me anyway, Schulte, Celentano, Brady. I think those are the 3 that you're starting the next cycle with. Not that Freese or Turner might not be part of it, because obviously they'll be. Freese is a little younger than Turner, but like they're going to be in good age for the next cycle. Yeah. But I want to see what they maybe have because I'm with you. Like Matt Freese is not. I'm not going to lie. I'm not super confident heading into the World Cup with their goalkeepers. I don't think that's like a hot take by any stretch. So I think when you look at Schulte, especially Brady as well as I think they have really high upside for young guys. I mean, Schulte was our starter in the, Olympics, which I think says what coaches see in him. That's pre-Pochettino, but still. I think those are guys to just kind of keep an eye on as we turn the page to the next cycle because they'll be in their mid-20s. Brady's still in his early 20s because he's so young. Of guys who are going to be professionals. And who knows, they might be able to, in the next couple years, get a move somewhere to a higher league. I don't want to say more competitive because, again, I think MLS goalkeepers are pretty darn good across the board, despite what people want to say. But you're looking at Schulte or Brady going, okay, well, if they get a move to France or England or Germany, that now makes me go, well, maybe we should be starting them. That's all. I don't want to spend too much more time on the goalkeepers. I think we agree. Freese, Turner, and then pick a dude.
Yeah, the only point I do want to make though, in terms of the age of the keepers, is that don't forget Tim Howard was in his, played some of his best soccer when he was in his mid-30s.
100%.
I mean, Brad Friedel in his early to mid-30s, right? Like they played some of their best soccer. And Casey Keller was in his mid-30s in the 06 cycle, right, when he was leading the team. So to your point, Turner and Freese are still going to have, in my opinion, another cycle. If
they have needed. A whole cycle, I think 100%.
At least.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I get what you. Yeah. I would agree. You want to look at those other keepers to see what they're made of, but to me, to Pochettino's point, what you have right after the World Cup, so you don't need to run them out necessarily in the first 2
No.
years of a cycle,
No.
right? Like you kind of know what it is, and if you need them, they'll be ready.
Yeah. All right, let's move up the pitch to the defenders. So there are 22, I think, if I'm categorizing them correctly, 22 defenders called in under Pochettino. I don't want to list all of them, so I'm just going to go up front. I'm going to go through my locks, and for me, there were only 3 locks, and one of them might be injured. So I think the number 1 lock for me is Serginho Dest. Number 2 lock is Anthony Robinson, and the number 3 is Chris Richards. Not necessarily in that order. That's just who I saw it, right?
Yep.
Richards was part of 6 total camps under Pochettino, which is a lot for a guy coming across the ocean. Dest only 2, but I think we all know that's because of injury. And then Robinson 4, but again, a little bit of injury and a little bit that being, well, one of those camps was a January camp, one is a Gold Cup, so I get it. Do you have any other locks?
I did. I mean, that's really about it down there. The only kind of, that's probably about it on that. I mean, there's a player we'll discuss that. I just don't know where he slots in, honestly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, these are they should be there or probably will be there. Tim Ream, who leads everyone with 9 call-ups. I think he is probably a lock if he's healthy and playing. Big if there. I think, but I'm putting him in that probably just because of that. Then I have, not necessarily in order, but in order of appearances, Max Arfston, Miles Robinson, Mark McKenzie with 7, 7, and 6. Then I have my 2 backup right backs, Alex Freeman and Joe Scally at 5. I almost want to put Alex Freeman into the lock category. I think Pochettino loves him, but for me, I'm like, yeah, they're probably going to be there because I don't think they're in that 100% category.
Yeah, I think Freeman is a guy that he's almost certainly going to be on that roster.
Yeah.
He's versatile. He can play the right fullback, right center back, in the back 3 if needed. He just provides some balanced depth there. I would say I had McKenzie, Ream, Freeman, in there. The player I want to mention because I don't think we have them both in the spot. I have Tim Weah there.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it depends. I slot him differently, right? Sometimes it all depends. Like, you could put up, he could be in the striker winger area too. I just don't know where he's going to play. I have him jumped around, honestly. I don't know where he's going to be, but I did want to mention him because I think he's a player that will be on this roster.
Yeah.
Is kind of, I don't think he's a lock, but I definitely think he's pretty like a pretty damn close type of player. But I kind of have him on that, fullback, attacking midfielder, wing type position.
Yeah,
depending on which.
That's a good shout. Anyone else in that, I think they're probably going to be their category defenders. I don't.
So you mentioned Arfston. I mean, he'll probably be there, but he's not big.
That's not That's not my head. That's not my heart. That's my head saying that.
You're probably right in general. I think when you look at the roster, if you wanted an extra player somewhere, he's out for me. Like he's right on that. He's right on that. Late to mid 20 range where you could be in or out depending on if they're looking for different types of players, right? Because if you say, and this is where this roster gets sketchy for me, right, is I think Scally and Trusty are battling for a similar spot, and depending on what you're looking for, you might say, oh, okay, I'm going to take both of them, and then who's left out of that, right? And I don't have Miles Robinson. I have him on the outside of the roster.
My only reason I said he was probably going is because of the number of call-ins.
Oh, for sure. I just don't. I don't think his quality's there. But we have a lack of options. We have a true lack of options. I mean, it's I only of the players I only rated 15 of them, right, for defense out of the ones that were available. So to me, there's only 15 of the defender type players that I rated of the 71. The other ones I didn't rate them. They just did not come up for me on that. And I know in the one that's a big question mark, right? And I think if he commits to the U.S. in No Kaya Banks, I think
Yeah.
I think he's on the roster, but to me, he's in the, he hasn't committed as far as we know. I think that would be the big surprise if we see this next, Tuesday.
Yeah.
But to me, he's in the top 40 for my rankings of players, only because I think he provides some quality. But right now, he's NA because we just don't know.
I feel like this is my take on Noah Banks. I don't think he's coming to this World Cup, and I'm okay with that because let the kid decide. And while I think he should be a starter in the next 4 years, hopefully he has progressed a little bit, but hopefully he's progressed a lot as a person and as a player. And maybe he'll be ready to make a decision then, because if he's just not ready to make a decision, I have to respect that. However, I mentioned Reem kind of injured. He played in the midweek last week, did not play over the weekend. I'm assuming that is some sort of like just kind of path to recovery. Miles Robinson played 45 minutes coming back from injury for FC Cincinnati. And there are other guys. I'm sure they've asked, but say a dude comes up injured this weekend, a center back. I mean, Chris Richards is hurt right now. Who knows how hurt he is, but he's hurt. You got to call Noah Banks and say, hey, man, I'm not guaranteeing you're starting, but I'm guaranteeing you that I need you to be on this roster type of thing. I mean, you might even go as far as like, hey, bud, you're probably starting in this group.
Well, I mean, as bad as the goalkeepers are, at least they're all consistently in a similar spot. And I'm like, okay, that is what it is. But center back is so weak. It's the weakest position on this team, right? And so to not entertain that opportunity, and again, I don't think Pochettino is playing with any sort of fear or lack of urgency here, but I do think that he's not going to be stressed about not having what he needs, and he's going to make it work. So because the options are limited. I mean, who else is on that list? We had Tristan Blackman received some time, right?
No, thank you.
No, but he did though. I'm just saying, but like Blackman.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's it. Like really,
Blackman, Carter Vickers, probably not.
He's injured.
He is. Thank you. That's why Trusty's been playing so much. Zimmerman, no, sorry, man. Appreciate you, but no. Other one, center backs listed. George Campbell, probably like that's a real long shot. But I will say for George Campbell's defense, he is playing well for West Brom in the championship and scoring, which is kind of nice, and is already committed to the U.S. So that's a plus in his favor. And the last one is Jalen Neal, who I don't think is factoring in at all.
Sean Zawoski, whatever his name is.
No.
No. I mean, he's been trying to get him in camp. I mean, he got into one camp and then he got injured or never played or whatever it was, but he's still he was still there.
Oh man, yeah. This conversation just highlights how screwed we are at this position, because Trusty was pretty okay last camp. He had a mistake or two in the Portugal game, but also played pretty well for the rest of the game. McKenzie and Robinson were not good against Belgium, but how much of that was also some other players not playing super well. They weren't great though. I don't know, man.
Yeah, George Campbell. I mean, that's a player that he was in one camp. That's the thing. Like, how much did he really get to look at some of these players and what?
Once you go past Trusty, who is my guy looking out, but I wouldn't hate if he's in. Like, if he is in over Robinson, I'd be like, okay, fine, sure. I'm just gonna again say this right now: the Scottish Premiership is not better than MLS. Celtic as a whole is better than MLS though, and that is a difference. Anyway, once you get past Trusty, I'm like, oh, we got to call.
Yeah, he's the end of it, right? As far as I would agree, he's the end. That's fair.
Other guys who are part of this too, again, I think they're out. John Tolkien, again, unless there's like a lot of injury issues, but like John Tolkien, no. Marlon Fossey, no. Nathan Harrell, no. Dwan Jones, no. Christopher Lund, clearly out. Shaq Moore, please, no. So like, yeah, that rounds out the defenders.
Yeah, it's our weakest position for sure. And because if you Freeman and Scally, if they make the squad, will likely be playing out of position a little bit if they play the center back role. So, and again, we don't even know what that looks like at this point. If he's going to go with a 3-back or a 4-back, formation. So, that I think that'll tell us a lot in terms of what we see. But you get 26 players, so I imagine he'll take at least.
I'm gonna go with 4, maybe 5 center backs.
Yeah.
Would be my kind of guess. All right, I think as you mentioned, that is our weakest position. Let's move up to the, I think, deepest at least, if not maybe not strongest, but definitely deepest, and that's the midfield. I have 3 locks, but that's because I'm like, yeah, I know they're going. Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and my hot take is Gio Reyna.
So you have him at center. You have him in the center mids.
I have him. I mean, again, I'm counting him as a midfielder.
Okay.
There's a couple of guys on this particular grouping that put him anywhere, and I think they'll be all right.
Yeah,
I think he's a lock. He's playing soccer. He is playing soccer consistently. Not a lot of soccer at any given time, but he is playing consistently. And for me, he's a lock.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't have him in this position. I have him more in the attacking winger spot. But I would agree he's a lock. He's doing stuff right. Like he's playing soccer, and I think that to me, like you say that, and it just like it's a shining light on it, right? Like he's playing, right? Playing at the right time. Whether I think he offers a lot, even if it's coming off the bench, as long as every player knows what their role is going to be or what it could be. I think that's fair for any player to want to know that, and for any coach to be able to provide that to their players. Hey, look, here's your role in the World Cup, or what it could be. Yeah. If X or Y or Z happen, be ready, right? If not, and it goes as this, then you'll be used in this way or that. You know what I mean? I think that's the fair thing to do at any level of sport. And I don't think we see that as often as we might like to,
but he has played in 5 matches in a row for Borussia Mönchengladbach. No more than 32 minutes, but he has played in 5 matches in a row. So
I'll take it.
I'm gonna mention 3 other guys that I think are pretty much going to be there, but I don't want to call them locks. Brendan Aronson, who leads all midfielders with 6 call-ups. Tanner Tessman also with 6, and then Malik Tillman with 5. I think those guys are pretty much going. I would almost make Tillman a lock, but I'm not like 100. I personally am not doing that, but I think all 3 of those guys are probably going as long as they're healthy.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Aronson's had a very good season. Tillman, I mean, it's been quiet with him for a little bit, but I think he's definitely that middle tier there of he. If you think of coming up players,
you can't leave a guy like that off the roster. That's just where I'm at. Like, there's no way you're leaving a guy with the talent of Malik Tillman off. And that's kind of where I stand with Joe Scally. Like, what are you going to do? The guy who starts every game for his Bundesliga club. I mean, no, he's not good enough to make this roster. Please.
Yeah, and to that point, when we talk about chemistry of teams and bringing in these chemistry guys, look. You have a good core group of players who have played together for 6, 7, 8 years now, right? Or whatever, 2 parts of 2 cycles, right? And so there's no real jerks that it appears to be there. If there's a jerk, you don't bring them in, right? Like that's part of it. But a team can have a quality player that maybe doesn't fit the mold. You can have one player and a lot of great players around them that can help keep that one player at bay. And so I mean, I don't know if that player truly exists within this world, but like you say all these things, it's like but to me, I understand want to build the best roster to have the best chance to win, but if you're saying I'm going to use the name rolled on over I don't know, like Musa or Busio or McGlynn, and I'm just throwing names out there that are in that similar position that could provide better quality that aren't jerks, then you take the better player in that case, right? Because it's not like Roldan is the glue that holds everything together, right? That's crazy. He's not the complete player. He's not. He may be a nice guy. He may be all these other things, and we talked about it in the last World Cup when he was selected. Like I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it, transpire here. Maybe it's crazy, but I don't think there's a bunch of jerks on this team that you need one rolled on to bring everything together. I'm sorry, I don't see it.
You don't have to be besties with everyone on your team. I'm
No.
I'm just saying. Of all the guys I played with in college, I keep up with like 2 of them.
Yeah.
No offense to them. We were fine when we played together, but it's like, okay, cool. We texted and hung out during the season and even after the season. But like, again, it's like, y'all just got to play together for hopefully 5 weeks,
Like 5 weeks, get through it. Figure it out, right?
You got what, a whole 8 weeks of camp of like living together. Can y'all just get along for that?
Right.
And
I mean, that's it. I mean, it's not crazy. You can do it.
I do want to get into the I definitely consider these the bubble guys that I think have legitimate chances to be part of this. And some of these are, I know people are going to be like, ooh, well, they're not very good. That's not the point here, because you do reach a point where not every player is a superstar. But I think, again, this midfield position group is pretty deep when you go through the list of names. And, I was reviewing it again today and going, oh, yeah, there are a couple guys in here that I'm like, man, he's not bad. He just isn't good enough for this roster. Anyway, also need to note Johnny Cardoso hurt, not going to be at the World Cup. So that has affected this, because he would be in my probably going to make it. So here are that next group of players, the third tier, if you will. Diego Luna, I think, is in that tier. Aiden Morris is in that tier. Sebastian Berhalter in that tier. Christian Roldan in that tier. And then my kind of surprise inclusion here is Jack McGlynn. You just mentioned him. I think Berhalter likes him. I mean, he's very clearly a skilled player, a very technically skilled player. Is he a great athlete? That's a whole other conversation. But those are kind of the guys that are like, they're probably going to fill in whatever spots Pochettino wants left over in this grouping.
Yeah, I mean, look, Berhalter offers set pieces. McGlynn offers, delivery on the field. The problem is neither one is overly fast in doing that, and I don't think they can do that against.
I gotta say,
yeah,
Sebastian Berhalter is having a very good season in MLS. Like, actually good. Like,
he's
the
doing great.
Season that people tell me that Christian Roldan is having in MLS, Sebastian Berhalter is actually having. So from that standpoint, I'm going, I agree with you. I don't think he, as we saw last camp, he's not going to be able to be like in my opinion, during the run of play, not a guy who I've necessarily went out there. I do at least give him credit for having a really good season right now.
I mean, the only thing I envision happen with Berhalter is this: he comes in 87th minute, whatever it is, we get a set piece, and we score.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's the only scenario of where that matters.
We need a goal.
Yep. He
Yeah,
makes it happen on a corner, whatever it is. Like, I can see that scenario taking place, because there is no other player in this roster that can do that. And I think that's where he maybe earns the spot.
Yeah. Totally.
But again, I understand I'm stuck on this. He's on my list as a player that should be on this roster is Yunus Musa. I know he's not going to be on this roster, but to me, he's a player that can play multiple positions. He can be a difference maker. To me, he does more than, he does a lot of different things that I think, he's better than Roldan. He's, better than, certain things are better than, McGlynn and Berhalter. I think Aiden Morris, is a different type of player, so I don't think he falls into that same category.
So Aiden Morris for me right now is almost a lock for the World Cup, and this is not like lock, but like in that second tier because of Johnny's injury. And I talked about this when I was on my weekly appearance on Soccer Down Here. It's just that for me, Johnny was the most Tyler Adams replacement possible. He's hurt. To me, Aiden is the next guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's not going to do anything flashy, but he's been consistent, right? He's been playing it very well.
He does what he does, and if you have him be the, hey, go win the ball back, he's great. I'm 100% with you on Musa, though. If you were to ask me, if you were to ask Bart, he's still in my, again, I think second tier because of his club not playing a whole lot, but he's in the, how do you lead this dude off?
Exactly.
You can tell me, oh, well, he hasn't really progressed much as a midfielder or as a player since last World Cup. Okay, we can have that conversation. But if he's only improved or even like kind of declined by a couple percentage points, he already had a high ceiling. Like his good was already better than like everyone else here, and it infuriates me that he was also never tried as like an actual midfielder. It was always, well, can you play on the right? And it's like, why would you do that? Especially a team that's playing as a double pivot. Having a guy who's very capable on the ball, being able to dribble out of pressure and progress the ball upfield. I don't understand why he's not part of this team's plans. I truly don't get it. And for those reasons, I'm not putting him in the even consideration, because it very clearly he's not being considered by Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah, he's in the low 30s on my list. I think he's obviously in the provisional. He should be on the provisional, but like, yeah,
he's in my top 26 best players in my opinion.
Oh, he should be. I mean, to me, he's on the higher end of that only because he just hasn't been part of the team. But he doesn't rate. I don't know if he pissed him off by not going to the Gold Cup. I think that has to be it, because to me, before then he was playing. He was on the roster. Yeah. Like he was doing okay. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's a good player.
It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah,
but Pulisic didn't go to the Gold Cup, and
yeah, but I mean,
maybe he just apologized more. I don't know.
I mean, Musa screwed that one up in general. I think, to me, I think he misplayed that anyway. It wasn't like he was having a minute's concern. Like, you want to play, you want to get in front of the goal. I mean, to me, this is that weird mentality that Berhalter kind of put into this freaking team about like this expectation that didn't carry over from Berhalter to Pochettino, and I think the players were told certain things. You won't be part of the Gold Cup, and then they are, and they don't want to be, and it's like, well, different coach, man. Like, I'm sorry, they got to get we've got to get something put together here, and he just misplayed it. And then, I mean, maybe it changes. I mean, maybe this is a surprise we see, right? Maybe this is a surprise selection that replaces one of these other players that we don't want. But,
I mean, when it comes, that's my hope, right? Because when it comes down to it, when you have to say, okay, if we are in a World Cup needing a win of some sort, and I need to call a guy up and I have to put a guy in, like, to me, this is my metric. Do I trust you in a World Cup match? We got a guy here who started like 4 of them. And you're going to tell me that Christian Roldan deserves to go in over him? The dude's still playing. He's still playing in a top flight league for a decent club there. You can talk about him not playing a lot. That's fine. But my brain can't square that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's a great point when you look at like, hey, here's our roster. Like we're in a knockout part of the tournament, and we have to. One of the core players is,
Yeah, I mean, legit. What happens if McKinney gets hurt or something like that, right? Or suspended.
Yeah, possibly, yellow card accumulation.
Dude
right?
gets like 7 yellow cards. Right, it could happen. Tyler Adams very well could get a couple yellow cards before, if all goes well before the round of 16, right? Pick
Absolutely,
up 2 yellow cards by then.
Yeah.
That's not crazy to say. Yeah, I would put Yunus Musa somewhere in that midfield.
That's the thing. I think he can play. The couple center, the 6 or the 8. I think he could also play, the 10, the wing type position if he needed to, right? I think that's why he's versatile. That's why he can play those pieces, right? And to me, like, and he does it well. Like, you're not forcing a player into a position. Like, obviously he plays certain things better. I'd probably rather see him on a 6 and the 8 than on the wing necessarily, because he doesn't, that's probably his 3rd option. But even in the central attacking piece of it, I think he'd do okay. We saw moments when he would, drive forward and create something, and
I'm gonna go through the guys that I'm not bringing in or even thinking about. Emeka and Ellie. Okay, you love him, but Gianluca Busio is just. I'm sorry, he's probably not getting in. Luca De La Torre, Paxton Aronson, Caden Clark, Cade Cowell. He should be up the forward line. I miscategorized him. Oh well. Benha Kramashki, Matko Miljevic, James Sands, Timothy Tillman, and Sean Zawatsky. I just do want to highlight that, like, Busio, De La Torre, Aronson, Clark, Kramashki, like those Sands even, who's hurt, those are pretty good players that if you were to tell me we would have had them in 2018 or 14, I'd be like, they got to be on the roster type guys. And I do think that's a sign that we've progressed as a player pool, that those guys are not even on the bubble, you know?
Yeah, I mean, some of those guys have had some injury challenges.
Yeah. Sands is hurt. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, Sands, if he's healthy, would be an interesting one. I think he's still on the outside looking in, but he's definitely a Tillman type player, right? Like, but I don't think he would have. He might be in the top 40-ish for me, but if he's healthy, but I still think he's quite a bit of a ways away. But everything else in there's no like holy craps type of players. They just haven't had those moments and had that consistency, and that's the key, the consistency. We as Americans are not consistent. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it is about American soccer players. They just consistency. They can't put up more than a few seasons in a row together from a consistency perspective.
Well, let's move to the forwards. Speaking of consistency issues, weirdly, I actually struggled figure out who were locks and who weren't, because I think there are like just too many guys that I'm like, yeah, they have to be there. But the locks, the guys who are for sure going and probably starting for me, like for sure starting anyway. Christian Pulisic, Fleur, and Balogun. Those are the two that are like 100%. You're in Sharpie on the team sheet type guys. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and give my like next tier. Ricardo Pepi. Again, I don't know if he's starting. I do know. I don't think he's starting. But like, he's got to be there. Haji Wright, got to be there. Tim Weah, for me, got to be there. And the other guy that's like not quite at that level is Alejandro Zendejas. But for me, he should be there because he is playing well in Liga MX and seems to get along with guys on the roster. If that's what matters, apparently, is that you're friends with people, then he should be on this roster more than other people. But I just think that it's like, yeah, there are only, 14, 15 guys who are, 15 who are considered a forward. There's only like 6 that I'm like, yep, you're going. And I don't think it's very controversial.
Yeah, I mean, there are players in the center mid we discussed that could also play some of these spots as well, like Aronson. I mean,
Reyna, Aronson, Tillman, even Luna, if you want, could be that guy. I just like fair.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, you mentioned Zendejas again. He and Luna, I think, are battling for the same spot, honestly, unless there's some other type of move that
most likely to play with a broken nose.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing because to me, I go back and forth. I don't know which one I would want there. Of the two, because they both offer a little bit something different in there. So I mean,
I'll make a deal with you. We take both of them, but we leave out Rodan and Arvston.
Sure, I'm fine with that because then that's fine with me. I'd be happy with that because I think they offer more, in points in the game where they could, if you need a goal or to create something, I think both of them provide more.
I'd actually argue at this point, Arvston is like, because this is what he plays for Columbus, he's a left winger. And if you were to tell me, if you could sell me better as Arvston being a left wing guy, an attacking player than a defender player, and I'd be like, well, maybe, sure.
Yeah, that makes sense because my concern with him is him getting back on defense, right? Like
playing defense, right?
He doesn't do it, right? Right, and that's what scares me about him in that role is that he doesn't get back.
It's not even that I'm concerned he's not going to get back. It's that he is just bad at defending, like bad. We have seen him get cooked time and time again, 1v1. Like, because Serginho Dest and both Anthony Robinson and Dest have tendencies to kind of stay high because that's their roles. And so I'm a little concerned about the balance of the team. But I'm not worried about them necessarily in a 1v1. I mean, Dest may get beat, but he's going to be able to nullify. Robinson's a pretty good defender. Like, Arvston is not good at playing defense.
Well, yeah, that's a major concern on that when you look at that. I mean, you're right. If he's playing up the wing a little bit, different story. And again, I think that really, when we talk about this too, right? It's for me, it's a little hard to select this roster because there are some players we don't, depending on what formation they go with, right? As a consistent format, and this is the key, right? To this, right? I look at it this way. the group stage is going to be extremely difficult, everyone, right?
It's going to be
Not
very competitive. None of
right,
these games are gimmies. I think
right.
we are favored. I, I think we're favored in the first two. I think Turkey, they did beat us recently. I think it's fair to say we did not have our best squad by any stretch. But I think Turkey is probably most capable of beating us more often than not. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, and I think they're all winnable matches, but they're all losable matches. I'm
Yes.
expecting a lot of one
Yes.
goal matches. And so how do you build the roster? What are you looking to do? Are you thinking, hey, we can match up man for man? Or are we going to get smart tactically and say, hey, we're broken these teams down, and this is how we're going to run out this for this match, for this match, for this match. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I want to see. That's what Berhalter did, or whoever was, made the decision in 2022. And you know what? He did a pretty damn good job of it, right?
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
they were ready to go for those matches. And what I don't want, even though there's 3 teams coming, I don't want this to come down to the last friggin' match of the group, right? Where they have to have a result to
Yeah.
freaking go on. Even,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
want that.
ideally, you can get off to a good start against Paraguay. I think Australia is a very beatable team. Right. I think Paraguay is too. I think, again, those are the two that, yes, when you look at that schedule, you got to take care of business against those teams because you don't want to have to rely on anything against Turkey. They are talented in a lot of places. So I'm with you. Like, these are going to be tightly contested matches. Obviously, it's a World Cup, but I think this group, while it's very favorable to us because we can beat any of these teams, that doesn't necessarily guarantee a win.
No, it doesn't.
So,
And that's why it makes me nervous. Like, it just
yeah,
makes me nervous because, one, we played, I think, all these teams in the last,
we have.
year.
And
right?
that does give me some comfort because while I definitely agree that Paraguay will probably somehow be more ferocious in a World Cup match than they were in that friendly, we beat them. We did not play our best squad. We still beat them. Australia, we did not play our best squad. We beat them. Turkey was a Gold Cup squad and a bad one at that. And we looked pretty okay against them, playing most of their best players. So that's the, like, in me, my heart is what's giving me hope through all the malaise of the World Cup. I do want to just mention one player on this forward line, and it's Brian White. And this hurts me to say. If there's a problem with any of our forwards between now and the roster coming out, or even the World Cup, I do think Brian White. Now, granted, the forwards are Balogun, Pepe, and Wright. So there's 3. But if one or two of those goes down, it would not shock me if Brian White is the guy called up. I don't love it. I think that is a logical conclusion based on what we've seen.
Well, so honestly, I agree. He, to me, is, a player that, is not going to make the roster unless, right, type of thing.
Yeah.
But the question is, who else would you put? Like, who? I mean, and he's injured right now, I believe. But like, Josh Sargent is the only other player,
The only one that would be even considered, right?
Even
because
considered, right?
the rest of them, Damian Downs, no, he no.
No.
Brandon Vazquez, no, he's not been where he needs to be to come back from injury. Jesus Ferreira, no, sorry, he's not he's not a center forward. Sorry.
Right.
Quinn Sullivan, hurt, obviously, and then Indiana Vasilev, no. Like, that's where, to me, if you have the 3, maybe that was why, and maybe that was why we tried Pulisic as a false 9, right, in Atlanta,
right,
2 months ago. That's the only, because I could see that being the, like, hey, if we don't have a healthy forward, we need to try this.
Yeah, I think that's it, and I don't know.
But you have 3. You have 3 forwards.
Yeah,
like guys who, in my opinion, can play that central striker position.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they're all, to me, they're my tops, and I hope they're there. And and they all offer a little bit of different flavor to the striker position. But yeah, it's, for as good as they are, the depth is not great. right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
the only other player I could think of that hasn't, that you potentially, and I'm sure there's other ones out there, so please don't yell at me too much, but DK is the only other player that I can think of that we've
Yeah.
seen in the past, right? And he's not gonna be there. I
And
mean, by any
that was the question I wanted to ask when we were kind of planning this up, or when I was planning this episode with you. Is like, is there a guy from the past regime that would maybe get a call up? The answer is really no.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
Like DK maybe, right? I don't really see. I don't see a guy who hasn't been called in by Pochettino. That's the key. That would suddenly become a guy who would be on this roster.
I want to just quickly check my my list here. Because I hate to see it because I just saw his name. He certainly is going to be playing with Bosnia Herzegovina.
Oh, Esmir.
I saw the name. I'm like, son of a bitch, like that. You want to talk about like a player that gets away, like in a position where we could have definitely used a little bit more depth, and to me would be
maybe
a player that would have made the roster, but like obviously he's not a striker. But I mean, obviously Aguimang is the player that got injured, who he may have found his way on there over right. I think it kind of felt that way for a while.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
That was going to happen. But yeah, I'm not. There's no other players that we've seen in the last 2 years, right, that have really been given that opportunity, right? And so, and I will have to wonder, like, if there's a situation where your strikers are there, do you only take 2 strikers and you grab another attacking player instead, right? If for some reason there's a player that is unable to be there. I mean, that's because to me the options they're limited, and I think someone like Awea could play striker if he needed to, right? Like he's versatile enough where he could make something happen there as well. So I do like the versatility of this roster. I think when we look position to position on this, it's not, Dest is here, and then if he's out, or here, like I think you shift players around to move the people in the best positions in general. I think we discussed it in the past.
Yeah.
But like Dest is a player, like if Anthony can't play a match for some reason, Dest would go to the left for me, and then Weah gets to start on the right or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Like I think you have that quality that's shiftable.
That's a good. I mean, we talked about it with our midfielder, our attacking mids, where any of those guys could slot in as the winger / attacking underneath the striker player, which is good. I mean, those are good problems to have. Not problems, good situations to have. Because, I mean, look, Diego Luna may make it because Pochettino looks at the roster and looks at the player pool and goes, I don't know if there's anyone really that I trust to back up Christian Pulisic or Weston McKennie or whomever he's playing in those half-space merchant positions.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's, pretty clear that, he has opinions on that.
Yeah. All right. Here's the question now that we're going to get into to wrap up this. We're going to ask 2. Who will be the biggest surprise, inclusion, and who will be everyone's, I don't want to say favorite, but favorite snub?
Favorite snub.
Yeah, the one that everyone's like, man, he should have been there. And then the surprise inclusion of, wow, I didn't see that coming.
I mean, I'm going to say Banks is the surprise. I'm more
okay.
more hopeful.
I love it. Let's go.
I'm more hopeful because to me, that's such a position of need, right? Like, when we talk, that's the one position where we just don't have the depth, and he's not letting. Oddly, since March, he hasn't been playing that much for his club. I don't know what the hell that's about.
Yeah.
But before that, he was pretty consistently playing for his club in the first division in Germany. So, he for me is that surprise, and I'll 1B it with Musa, only because, again, I'm hopeful Pochettino comes to his senses and says, hey, this player has a lot to offer over Roldan or
Yeah.
right? Like there's something else here, right? Where these players aren't able to play at that high intensity level that's needed to at a World Cup. They just cannot keep up with the pace. I think that's the problem when we look at some of these midfielders. They're just not fast enough.
Yeah.
In terms of everything they do. I don't mean like speed specifically, but I mean in terms of their, scannability, everything they do that's needed to be fast, right? That's what makes, that's the difference between good players and great players on the national stage is the speed
Mm-hmm.
of which you can adjust and make your decisions. And I just don't think those players are able to um, cut it
Yeah.
on, against the top tier nations. I just don't.
I like it. My snub that everyone's going to be the most mad about, my favorite snub, is going to be Diego Luna. I just think when you consider all the players who play in that type of position, he's the least. He's the one right at the end of that list that can make a squad because you do have a finite number of spaces. Now that said, I would love for him to be there for, like, if you need a guy who inspires the team and plays hard in practice and gets people to play a little bit harder. I think he's it over some of the other guys we've talked about. I just don't know if his position is going to help him now that, especially that Gio Reyna is like playing soccer, because I don't know how many attacking midfielders you can bring in when you have Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna, Malik Tillman, and then maybe Brendan Aronson. That's four. Again, do you conclude him in that half space merchant guy? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. So he's my snub. And then my surprise, and this is a guy that hasn't been called in yet, but it's the one that everyone in the media wants to, apparently. So let's feed that conspiracy theory. It's Xavier Gozo. And it's really because we don't have true attacking winger options. And the kid can do it.
Well, if that aligns with your snub, I think, that's a possibility, right? Because I think, to me, when you look at the snubs, to me, it looks, and I think I mentioned earlier, I think the Lunas and Dejas are battling for a spot. I think the Scally and Trusty are essentially battling for the same spots on this roster. If everything else kind of falls in line where we've seen it be there, and you're right. I mean, we don't have that, and so if he's there, then Zendejas and Luna won't be, right? And I think,
Yeah.
that's a good call. I think that's, I'll double check before I say this, but I think when I dropped my preferred lineup, and I think I had him on there, and I did not have Luna or Zendejas, right? So he filled that attacker midfield, type position, in my pool. So I think, and part of me wants to kind of see one. I mean, you have 26 positions, right, on the roster.
You're allowed to bring in a dude who, why not?
Right, exactly. There is something to be said for bringing in a dynamic, fast player that maybe doesn't have it all, but that could maybe in a moment do something. Again, we saw, and I hate to use, we saw it in 2014, right? Yedlin was that player. Julian Green was that player to a point, right? You bring in these young, raw players, right? I'm not saying those are the right choices, but you're bringing in that, and now you have 3 additional roster spots, right? Like, do you take a flyer on one of those type players?
Yeah.
From your domestic league, right, where you can kind of prop them up and do those things that maybe help bring more attention to the league.
And look, that is okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing a guy from the domestic league who you think has potential. I think that's where you and I get hung up on with Rodon. Is like the dude is where he is, and he's improved slightly. If you're telling me that we're bringing Diego Luna because, hey, again, conspiracy theories will allow it. Hey, MLS needs someone on this roster that they can kind of pitch as being a USMNT going forward. Yeah, Diego Luna. There's your dude. I mean, that's a pretty slam dunk pick,
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's at least he's the player.
Yeah.
That's exciting, that's dynamic, all these different things that you can kind of get behind. I mean, he's a little bit. I mean, claim he's a loose cannon. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room, so
I haven't seen that.
But he's not. There's something unique about that, right? There's something that's exciting about that, and so, and that's the thing. Like, how many of these players? If we look at how many of these players from the MLS, right, will make this roster, whatever it is, right? A third, let's say.
Yeah, it doesn't help when all 3 of your
40%?
goalkeepers are going to be from
Right.
MLS.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And
let's say
like
30 to 40% of the roster is going to be from MLS. Like, how many of those players are going to be seen at the World Cup and then be able to make a move to a more competitive league, right?
I mean, looking at it right now, none of your forwards that I would project are unless you count Luna as a forward and he makes it. None of them are MLS, right? All 3 of your goalkeepers are going to be MLS.
Right.
Your defenders, you're going to have probably at least 2, maybe 3 center backs, and then probably the left back who's MLS. So I think you're going to have some inflated MLS numbers, but mainly it's just because I think that let's see, in 2014, none of them were from MLS. Not that that was a good or bad thing, but it was just the reality of Tim Howard was at that level. Great, So for me, it's you're gonna say, like, people are gonna be like, oh, there's so many MLS players. Well, 3 of the goalkeepers are MLS players, which is more than we're used to having, right? We had 2 last time around. Okay. I don't know that this is going to be an MLS heavy roster. Certainly not a MLS heavy starting lineup unless you look at possibly a center back and a goalkeeper as your MLS guys in the lineup,
Yeah, I think, it's going to be probably a little bit more, to the point there. But again, when you have 3 keepers, right, which is never happened, right? We've never had 3 keepers that have come from the MLS in a World Cup.
Right.
I think that's, kind of stands out a little bit. And again, honestly, like, there's actually, I don't think there's any European keepers available, right? Klinsmann's injured.
Yeah,
he's injured.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
He's injured, right? So, like, I think
Koken?
Koken is maybe the only player, right, within the pool that is over in Europe. And I'm not, that's no criticism of anything. It's just a statement of fact.
Yeah.
That in terms of keepers we've seen, in this 71, players on here. And again, I'll be surprised if we see a player that's not on this list of 71 that makes the roster, right? That will be a surprise. But again, there's a lot of the media is doing a great job right now of pulling up players, right? Getting excited about a lot of players. I think, let me just bring my list up here. I think a couple that I have here that are, recent, exciting players, Mathis, Albert, and Julian Hall with the Red Bulls, right? Those are the players you can continue hearing, right? Well, there's one other one. He's a midfielder, starts with an M. What's his name?
From New York.
I think he might be from New York too. Yeah.
I know exactly who you're talking about, and now the name is also escaping me. So
yeah,
great.
And I'm sure if I saw it, I couldn't pronounce it, but honest. Yeah, he's attacking midfielder. Honest I don't know. I can't pronounce. Oh, this is in Ipswich. That's not right. That's not the right player.
Not Mehmeti.
Mehmeti, yeah, that's the one. Mehmeti.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is maybe American? He's American, but I don't know if he's picked his country yet.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
What exactly
There's been some other players.
He is an American. He is an American, but I think he also has other passports or something.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The dual national thing. I think we're unless they've made the switch and people, and I don't know how publicized that becomes. We've got who we've got. Banks is an American, so his switch would have to be to Germany. So anything else, on there would have to be a little bit a unique situation that just happened, because that paperwork can take years to get through. So it would have been a process for U.S. Soccer. That would be the only caveat to seeing another player that's a dual national get pulled into that. And and again, anything's possible. I will say that U.S. Soccer did a great job with Balogun and a couple of these other players over the last couple of cycles. So
I do think though that like we're not getting a surprise like that.
I don't know who and if it is, I'm not sure who would it be, right? I just don't. There's no
like Banks. It would be the dual nat, but he's an American. Like I'm with you. He's an American.
There's no paperwork that has to take place. You just got to say, "Yep, I'm going," and that's it, right? There's no.
And Mehmeti is eligible for Albania, but I'm pretty sure he is American. He's played for both of them in the youth ranks, but like I think he is American. But again, that's youth ranks. It does matter. I think what I learned from all this though, and what I continually learn from these, is that I have my way of building a roster. Not everyone has the same idea. I do understand the value of those guys who help make the clubhouse fun. Bro, I don't care who gets the aux cord. Like, just go out there and play soccer well. And I that's just me. That's me.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is fun to do. Like, it is fun. I like, because it's not easy. Like, you can go, like, it's like, I've done this enough over the last couple decades. It's hard to pick a roster. Like, it's hard because I've done it two different ways, and I'm hoping I'm going to have an article come out here maybe this week or
there's your plug.
Yeah, next week, about like what I want and what I think Pochettino would do, right? Kind of what we've kind of gone through here a little bit today, right? And so in that, it's challenging to do that. It's not easy. Like, I mean, because you have to fill the roster and you have to fill the depth, and you think it's easy, but like 26, 23, whatever it is, you can kind of figure there's always someone that gets left out. Try building, 44 player, depth, and see what that looks like. You're going to have trouble as you get to the end of that, because you're going to be like, oh, it could be this guy, it could be that guy. It's not easy. Like, we have our tendencies. There's a group of fans that want these young players to play, and I'm like, we did that the last World Cup. Now we've got 12 to 15 players on this roster, right? That played that could be on this World Cup roster, are likely to be on this World Cup roster in some form or fashion. And I think we need to see them step up and do that.
Yes.
And and how we build around that is going to be, important.
Well, again, by the time this gets released, we'll probably be about 3 days away from that roster drop on Tuesday, May 26th. That is a 3 p.m. I think Eastern time slot. They're going to do that on Fox Soccer, or on Fox, but whatever. So we'll find out next week, and we'll have a reaction episode to that. So Thomas, I look forward to talking to you again next week about the players who do in fact make the USMNT roster. And look, to say this is a very important decision would be underselling it. These guys have to understand the importance and the weight that they're going to carry this summer. And hopefully we're playing multiple rounds of a knockout. That would be great.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, I think all fans, want that. I think we need that as a nation. I think we want to have the excitement. I don't know, but I'm feeling the build on this of the last week become much massive, of the
look. We haven't won a knockout round in a World Cup since 2002, right? Yeah. Weirdly, that's one of our best performances. We only won once, but like, can you do better than that? I hope you can.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what what the mentality is from this team, the players, and how it all done that. I mean, in 2002, Arena had different lineups for different situations because he had to, because of injury or whatever it was, and he made it work. We need to see that. I think we need to see that from Pochettino. Figure out what the best way is to win these matches and to have that deeper run. I mean, we all have that dream of it. It's heartbreaking when you lose, but you're there. You have a chance to win. That's the thing. If you're there, you have a chance to win any match on any given day.
That's the most important thing. You have a chance, and make the most of your chances. So
absolutely.
You can follow Thomas on Twitter at USKeeper. You can catch his work at chasingacup.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at SoccerForUsPod. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Bart. I'm out.